Hi, Tom from BK Nutrition, and today I want to talk about should you be tracking your weights and your lifts when you're in the gym. Now I'm going to come at this from a bodybuilding perspective because that's my niche, that's where I work. I'm a bodybuilder, I've trained as a bodybuilder all my life, pretty much my lifting life since I was 17. If you are a strength athlete or a powerlifting athlete, I would always, yes, recommend tracking your lifts. However, it's a slightly different thing for bodybuilding, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. Now, I'm not going to, this is my personal opinion on lifting and tracking. I know there are very, very successful bodybuilders, professional bodybuilders who tracked all their lifts all the time and they got incredible results from doing it. And I also know that there are professional bodybuilders who don't track their lifts and they've also done very well. So why should you or shouldn't you track your lifts and your weights and what you've accomplished in the gym if you are a bodybuilder or looking to build muscle and improve your body shape rather than improve your strength or your maximal lifts? So in terms of being a bodybuilder, what we're looking for is the maximum development of the muscle, so the muscles grow as big as possible. Now, this is something that people always get a little bit backward because they go into the gym going, oh, I'm a bodybuilder, and they're focusing on their 1 rep max or how much they can bench press or how much they can curl, that sort of thing. That is not a bodybuilder's ethos. And I know some people might disagree with this, but being a bodybuilder is not inherently about being the strongest person you can be. That's a powerlifting or strength athlete conditioning. What we're looking for a bodybuilder, the main thing you are trying to do is to grow your muscles as big as possible. Now, let's put this into a completely opposite approach because strength does go with with bigger muscles. But let's say the optimal way to build muscles was by lifting 30 to 40 rep sets and not lifting heavy, lifting light weights. Then, and this was proved by science. Well, it isn't, by the way, but let's just say it is. And so we've got bodybuilders here, we've got strength athletes here. Then all of a sudden you're going into, I want to be a bodybuilder, and you know the best way to do it is to use less than optimal weight and do loads and loads of reps. Now, if you're still wanting to build the maximum amount of muscle, that's the way you would train if you wanted to be a professional bodybuilder. But obviously that isn't the case, but I just wanted to put that extreme into it. If you're looking to lift heavy, you need to train like a guy who lifts heavy and is looking to lift heavy weights all the time. And if you're looking to develop maximum muscle, yes, you've still got to lift heavy, but you've got to be more intelligent about the way you do it. 1 rep maxes, I don't think really have a place in bodybuilding. They're nice to do, but if you're always training for a 1 rep max, you're not looking at the bodybuilding, the real bodybuilding perspective here. Now, I know, of course, there are professional bodybuilders, people much bigger than me, who do train this way. They do train for strength. They have got a powerlifting background. Even Ronnie Coleman came from a powerlifting background. But here's the thing with Ronnie Coleman, he came from a powerlifting background, but his training was always maximal reps. He did a lot of reps. Even if you've seen the video of him pressing the 100-kilo dumbbells, it wasn't 1 or 2 reps, it was 10 to 12 reps. There was always a volume element there. And this is the reason why I think maybe tracking your weights religiously is not good as a bodybuilder. Because let's say you went into the gym, and as a bodybuilder, you would generally do 4 or 5 exercises in a workout. Now, there are different workouts, of course. Let's say we're doing a traditional bodybuilding workout. We're just going into train, say, chest. You would do sort of 4 or 5 exercises on chest. Now, let's say that your bench press is not the first exercise. It's the 3rd exercise. Now, if you have trained the bench press on the first exercise about 2 weeks ago, you're going to be stronger on that exercise than you would if you did it in the 3rd set or the 3rd exercise, because you've done a couple of exercises before and your glycogen's depleted, your energy levels are depleted. However, there is a good case for doing big compound exercises towards the end of the workout, because then you're going to really pick up on those muscles that can fire, but maybe at a lesser weight. And I've talked about redundancy before. The redundancy is where the lesser strong muscles in the muscle group can fire if you're lifting a less than maximal weight. So if you're lifting on the first exercise, you're going to lift with the strongest muscles, but when you get into the 3rd exercise, it's those redundancy muscles that come along and fire. And as a bodybuilder, we're looking to use 100% if we can of our muscles in a workout to get the muscle to grow as big as possible. When you're looking for a strength result, you're looking to hit the maximum amount of strength you can in 2 or 3 reps to lift the weight. So there's the difference. We're looking to do lots of volume, lots of reps to make sure the muscle is 100% stimulated, so we're getting that growth across 100% of the fibers, not just the strength response, which is from a low rep, high weight training. And this is where people get it mixed up, because if you're doing, and I know there's professional bodybuilders, and I've done it myself, who have done things like deadlifts at the end of the workout. I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on this, that Dorian Yates used to do deadlifts towards the end on some of his exercises as well. And the idea is that if you've completely isolated out your muscles and isolated out your back, when you come to the end of a workout and you do things like deadlifts or you do things like bar squats at the end, you've got to really focus on that form, and you've got to really make sure you're targeting those muscles, because you're not as strong as you were at the beginning. Yes, you're going to be doing less weight, potentially sort of a small percentage, but you're going to feel it more because you've pre-exhausted the muscles before, and then you've got to maybe bring in muscle fibers that you haven't recruited and you wouldn't have recruited if you didn't do it right at the end. Now there's the thing, if you log that, so if you logged your deadlift at the end of a workout or your bench press at the end of the workout compared to the previous week we've done it on the first exercise, those lifts are going to be off. But here's the thing, what has stimulated the muscle to grow more? Now there's an argument which can't really be answered, because unless you put electrodes on and stuff like that, you're not going to know that answer. But the thing is, we want to stimulate the muscle to grow. We want to get 100% of the muscle fibers to grow. If we're doing a big back workout and then we're putting in a big compound deadlift at the end where we can't do as much weight, but we can get potentially more reps, and we're lifting and we're making sure that we're using all those redundant muscles which we haven't used before that, what is stimulating more muscle growth? Now, I would argue that potentially the last one is because we're looking at muscle growth, not strength. However, there's benefits to both. But if you tracked your weights and you tracked your workouts, if you're going to do that religiously, you've then got to say, well, I've got to track I did a deadlift, it was this many reps, this many sets. And then you've got to also put in, it was at the end of the workout. So then if you put in deadlifts at the third exercise or the fourth exercise or whatever, you've got to track all that. And that's a lot of metrics to take into account. Now, I'm not saying you can't do that, and I'm not saying you shouldn't do that, but it's a lot of stuff to track. Personally, when I was training, when I was doing my competition training, and I would progress every single year when I did this, I would just log my maximal weight that I could lift on a deadlift for say 4 or 5 reps. I knew I could pull a deadlift for X amount of kilos for X amount of reps. That was my measure of what my strength was. But I was never that concerned about my actual strength, about what I could do. And people ask me, what do you bench as a bodybuilder? I'm like, I don't know, about 100-ish something kilos, whatever it was at the time. And what do you squat? Well, for what? How many reps? What type of squat? What front squat, rear squat? People are always asking this question because their perception as well is also, because you're a big guy, you must be fairly strong. And yet I was fairly strong. I have squatted 220 kilos, although that was absolutely a monstrous amount of weight to do. And I have benched 4 plates aside, whatever that is, and that was a whole lot of weight to do. But I always found that I got better muscle growth as an overall response from lifting slightly less weight for more reps. And sometimes doing, say, bench press, deadlift, or whatever, at the end of the exercise, at the end of the workout, rather than at the beginning, because at the beginning, I would have a lot of fresh energy. And here's the thing as well, is that if you are not religious with your range of motion, what's going to happen is, because you've got more energy and you're fresh in the workout, you're going to be potentially cheating the weight into it a little bit more because you've got more muscle fibers to recruit. If you're looking at doing a deadlift at the end when you're already tired, you've really got to think about how to pull that weight without causing yourself an injury, because you've got to really lock that weight in. You haven't got all those muscles which are now tired to give you that crutch to be able to sort of jerk the weight up, or to put your or to put your body language into it. Now there's just another thinking and another way of thinking about, should I log my reps, should I log my sets, etc. Personally, I think it's a good idea if you do log something, so you know what you are lifting, what your maximal potential is. But here's the other thing, is that, say for example, one week you're stronger and you can do say 10 reps on something, and the next week you're a little bit weaker, but that's because of maybe diet, nutrition, because the way you've trained the muscles in the week, that sort of thing. And you come into it and you go, last week I got 10 reps on this weight, so then I have to get 10 reps this week, but then you only get 8. And then you go away from the workout thinking, I've not been productive. on that day. But because you've maybe facilitated a more exhaustion in the muscles before the exercise, before you got to that weight, potentially you've stimulated more muscle growth there. And the 8 is just a representation of how much you facilitated a failure signal in your body, so that then you can only get 8 because you are so fatigued when you get there. So what has caused the most fatigue in the muscle? What has caused the most signal in the muscle? Is it the 10 reps or is it the 8 reps? It's all the combination of the workout, because as bodybuilders, we don't go in and go, right, we're doing squats today, or we're doing deadlift today, like say a powerlifter would. A powerlifter would go into the gym and go, right, we're doing squats today, we're doing deadlifts, we're doing bench, we're going to see what we can get for this. And they would do deloading and all these other things to sort of facilitate into a build up into lifting a 1 rep max on a certain occasion. Whereas bodybuilders, we're not doing that. We're doing, say for example, you do chest, you're doing maybe cables, you're doing flies, you're doing bench press, doing dumbbell press. You're doing 5 or 6 different exercises potentially in a workout. But how do you know which is the more productive? And you're measuring the bench press or the squat as your maximal lift. You might be doing more in the other exercises, which then cause you to get less reps on another exercise, and you think, oh, well, I failed because I'm not lifted as much. But actually, that sent a massive growth signal, and you grow more. But if you're always getting hung up on the weight that you've lifted as a bodybuilder, you're not thinking about how the muscle's contracting, the fatigue of the muscle, you're not thinking about how you can engage with the muscle to make it grow better. All you're thinking about is the weight that you've got. So if you are going to log stuff, you've got to think of it as an overall thing in the workout. It's not just about the weight that you've lifted, it's about the stress you've placed on the muscle, how hard and tight you can contract the muscle, how much volume you can get, because remember the redundancy, you've got to think about the redundancy muscles that are going to fight as you get weaker. You've got to think about you recruiting all of those. If you're not thinking about that and not thinking about how this exercise is going to help me build muscle, and all you're thinking about is, I can't wait to this because I'm going to lift heavy, you've got the wrong mentality for being a bodybuilder. And although yes, your genetics might allow you to grow big doing that, potentially you're going to be outworked by someone who's thinking of a more holistic approach about this and this, and I will log it so I know what I'm doing, but I'm not dictated to by the weight. So that's an alternative view on it. And like I said, I have friends, bodybuilding friends, who log everything. I have friends who don't log anything. They all progress well, because it's not just the weights in the gym, it's the nutrition, it's the rest, it's the supplements, it's all those things that come into it. You've got to get all that right. So I wouldn't stress, in my opinion, about logging everything religiously. If that's the sort of person you are, if that's what you like doing, then fine, put it into a big picture and get all that data in. But you don't have to do it. I don't think you have to do it as a process, as long as you are thinking, and the most important thing you're thinking about is how this exercise I'm doing right now, how can I use this to facilitate muscle failure and to stimulate the muscle as maximal as possible. You should be going into every single set thinking that, rather than, I need to get 10 reps on this because that's what I got last week. That's a different thinking about being a bodybuilder and a strength athlete. You need to be thinking about the big picture. So I hope this has given you some insight. Again, it's not meant to be this is the definitive thing. It's only my opinion, and other people will have different opinions. I'm just putting forward my argument about what I've done in the past. I grew fine. I won shows fine. I didn't have to log everything every day in my workouts to do that. So that's should you log your workouts? Should you log your weights? I hope this has helped you, and I hope it's given you a different insight, and good luck with your own training. Share, comment below if you want to, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks very much.